they going to make a big difference? Like, is my driver, for example, if I got a new driver, will it help me hit it 50 yards further? And if the answer's no, well, don't bother.
It's a long email, but what was quite good, it was done in 2 parts. So there was the kind of first part, then there was the Derrick at the bottom. So I'm going to come straight into the Derrick. It's from, I'll say it's from Joseph or Joe, it doesn't matter. I'm going to start going with, unless you say, please don't mention my name at all, I'm going to give people's first names. We don't know who it is from first name. It says, I'm 30 years old. I've been a member at my golf club just over a year and got my handicap at 22 pretty quickly. Over the course of the past year, I've won a few comps and placed top 10 a couple of the medals and a few of the majors. And I'm now playing a 14 handicap.
Okay.
I'd like to get down to single figures by this time next year. I've had no lessons so far, just tips off the lads at the golf club, etc. Will I need lessons to achieve this? And are there other avenues, such as new clubs, that will help me achieve this? Also, what do you think is achievable? So realistically, he's a 14 handicap at wants to get to single figures in a year. What would be your kind of top tips?
Did it just mention how long he's been playing for?
I think he said he joined the club last year. Let me just find it again.
He said he's 30.
Yeah, I don't think he's been playing that long, but I've flipping lost the email now.
Well, first off, he's done really well to get down to 14 handicap. You know, if he has picked up golf fairly recently, you know, certainly I always think if you're not a kid anymore and you're not literally playing every single day without question, if you pick it up in your adult life and get down to 14 in a very short time, that's amazing.
So he has played for a few years, but I think the last couple of years it's got proper into it. So he's a beginner-ish, really.
So I think the first thing is obviously pat yourself on the back. 17 to 18 handicap is the kind of the UK average, so you're already below that. And really now you've just got to sharpen up some of your areas. Again, you could explore lessons, you could explore new golf clubs. I'm not ruling those options out. But you have to really look at it and go, are they going to make a big difference? Like, is my driver, for example, if I got a new driver, will it help me hit it 50 yards further? And if the answer's no, well, don't bother picking up a new driver potentially. Lessons might be really good if, again, well, obviously I'm a big advocate of lessons as being a golf coach myself. Lessons are great. Just go in there with a plan and make sure that the coach is aware of your intentions and what you want to try and achieve, and try and go in there with just a bit of a loose plan of, I feel like my chipping isn't as good as it could be. But then that's kind of going down the playing with clubs and getting a good fit in and having lessons. That's one route, yes, you could definitely take. My other route, Joe, will be surround yourselves with the best players in the club. Like if you just want to do it the organic way,
good shout.
Surround yourselves with single-figured golfers. So when the golf courses reopen again and the Saturday start sheet comes up on the notice board or on the website, pinpoint a group of good players and stick your name down with them.
What's good?
Well, it varies, doesn't it?
What in this situation?
For
what
him,
thinking?
single people who he wants to emulate. Yeah. So I think single-figure golfers, Category 1 golf. Is category still a thing, by the way?
I don't think it is anymore, but
it's
yeah,
like five handicap or less. Stick your name down. You might feel awkward. You might feel out of place at first because you might think, I'm not good enough to play with these single-figure handicappers. But don't worry, like a 14 is nothing to be embarrassed about. Like if 14 handicapper played with me, I'd be delighted. Like there wouldn't be an issue. I wouldn't feel like anyone would be slowing me down anyway. But just get those conceptions out your head.
Yeah, I think just a note on that. What you're saying that, you know, when I was a lower handicap years ago, and obviously you were at your golf club, it didn't matter who you were paired with as long as there was sound, did it really? So if someone's off 28, you're going to feel nervous off 28 playing with a 4 handicap, a scratch handicap, a 10 handicap. But as long as you're a nice person, no one's really bothered. So that's a note on that. But carry on, sorry.
Yeah, so surround yourself with good players, learn what they do, but just play with good players. Like practice with good players, play with them, like get in their click if you can. Because it definitely makes a huge difference. I really do think that.
Yeah.
So there's 2 routes. Yeah, go down, maybe have a look for some lessons, get some really good expertise, improve on a few areas that you need to improve on. I don't know your strengths and weaknesses, Joe, particularly, but try and identify those. So when you go to the lesson, think that the process is sped up. Yes, potentially look into some new golf clubs if you feel like they're holding you back. That's one route. But then the other route is just play with good players. You will see what they do. You'll enhance your game, your ability by surrounding yourselves with better players on a weekly basis.
That's a good shout. I hadn't thought of that about playing with better players because, you do pick up stuff, don't you? Even little things like, well, actually, just coming on to that, so a guy messaged me with a very similar question, almost exactly the same question on Instagram. And you know, I'm into voice notes recently. I always send you voice notes. I sent him a voice message back.
Wow.
And he was basically asking me, he wanted some good advice, but came straight to me, obviously. He was asking the same thing. He was off, I think he was even off 14, wanted to get down to 9. And I didn't what you said then is a really good point on playing with better players. But one thing I said, which is kind of similar-ish, is just if you're off 14, you know, you've probably got it in your locker to shoot single-figure handicap scores, 9 overs, etc. But so much of when I played with some friends who are off that kind of handicap in that ballpark, it's the compound errors. So it's like, let's say there's a par 3 and you hit a decent tee shot, again, you're off 14, you're probably going to strike it quite well, you go in the front bunker. That's annoying. Instead of just getting it out and then maybe 2 putting for a bogey, it's either trying to play a shot or not having the confidence and end up either leaving it in or sculling it through the back, and next thing it's a 5 now. It's only one shot more, but if you do that 2 or 3 times around, it adds up, doesn't it? Same as in the trees, we've done videos on this before. If you go into the trees, take your medicine, chip out, and take the bogey, don't worry about it. But that's something you would, again, learn from playing with better players. But for me, that's a big one. It's just making those errors not as bad.
Yeah.
How many times do you high handicappers who can strike it, but they'll just do silly things that they either don't know. And then, sorry, the very last one on that, again, I touched on what you've said loads of times, was just that whole thing, and this is, again, I said on the voice note, was that thing of how many people of that kind of ability, again, can play, but they'll get to the 4th hole, which is a par 3, and get their 8-iron out. I always hit 8-iron on here. But the tee's 5 yards forward, 5 yards back, the pin's in different places, more wind. It's just be that a little bit more mindful of your shots.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, again, with experience, you don't sound like you've played loads of golf yet, Joe. The more experience you get, you'll get better at that anyway. Because you will be thinking less about some other things that you think is really important right now, that you might have to consciously be thinking about. That becomes a subconscious, and then you can actually free yourself up to play much better golf. Well, that was good advice for Joe.
That was really good advice. You were informed.
Just going back, do you think we cleared up what the clubhouse